Hi, my name is Gemma Cucci and I am a lead teacher with the Early Childhood Department. Today we are going to be talking about some strategies to help the English language learner in your classroom. As the pre-K program continues to grow each year, so does the number of children in our classrooms who speak another language. The Early Childhood Department recognizes this and have put together a series of webinars to address the topic. Today in Module 1, we will be discussing the first two stages and the learning environment. At the end of the webinar, there will be an assessment piece that you will need to complete before you can receive your certificate. If after completing this webinar you have any questions, you can always contact me at gcucci@jcboe.org. When we have a child in our classroom that has a native language other than English, we often think of the challenges that we will encounter in trying to communicate with the child. How often do we think about the challenges that that child or family has gone through? Think of the journey of your ELL student has gone through. Were they fleeing from political asylum? Were they coming here to better their economic situation? Were they forced here from their home because of an earthquake or other natural disaster? Did they have a journey that was difficult, or was it peaceful and easy? Was he or she born to parents who speak only their home language? These are some questions we need to think about so we can offer the best learning experience for that child. When young children whose home language is not English first arrive in a classroom in which English is one of the languages used, they are at the starting point of a new developmental pathway. In this webinar, we will discuss some characteristics and strategies to help these young learners in your classroom. When children enter your classroom, it is okay for them to continue to use their home language. We want to encourage them to continue to use it as they learn the English language. We don't want to give them the feeling that it is wrong if they speak their native language. The English language learner will enter a nonverbal stage. This is when they are not doing much speaking, but more observing and listening, kind of just sitting back and taking it all in. And this is totally normal. After they become comfortable and familiar with people and routines, they will start experimenting with sounds, words, and phrases. There are times when we have a child in our classroom not speaking any language. We often think the child might need to be referred to PERT, or the preschool intervention team, or even special ed. But in most cases, that is not necessary. We first need to take a step back and ask ourselves, does the child speak another language? Do they respond to gestures? Is there any language spoken at home? Is there peer interaction? If you answered yes to any one of these questions, most likely it is not a concern for PERT, but rather that stage 1 learner that we just spoke about, where the child has entered that silent stage. The reason for the silence is because the child has limited vocabulary and might not feel comfortable experimenting yet. This stage usually lasts about 6 months. At this point, accept nods and simple one-word answers. Because stage 1 learners have a limited vocabulary, we should use pictures or concrete objects to get our point across. Use gestures when we speak, and by this I mean facial and bodily. You may feel a little uncomfortable or silly at first being so expressive using your body, but your students will appreciate the extra effort. It is okay to ask the stage 1 child, "Where is questions?" or "Who has questions?" These are questions that require a pointing, answer, drawing a response. It is even okay to ask stage 1 children a question every so often that requires a one-word response, because we always want to transition them to that next stage. You may notice a child in stage 2 speaks like a toddler. This is due to the limited language and how they are experimenting with it. They may be able to say familiar words, but don't use it in the right context. The sentence structure and grammar might also be a little off, but once again, that is expected when learning a new language. We just need to remember to not be critical when this happens so that we don't crush the child's spirit to learn. We intentionally scaffold learning in our classrooms every day, so scaffolding for the English language learner should be no different. An example of scaffolding for an English language learner might be when the child recognizes his name on a cubby, introduce a new challenge such as picking his name out of a group of name cards. Or when reading stories, sometimes read straight through and other times stop and talk about the pictures. Let's not forget about asking questions such as either or, who, what, or where. Remember to be accepting of the one-word answers or phrases. You can always model expanding on them. We all have the daily routine already posted in our classroom for the children to follow. That's because all young learners need a consistent routine to become independent learners. When used daily, children will become familiar with phrases and the different parts of the day, again encouraging a safe learning environment. We all know how we arrange our classroom can make a big impact on the flow of the classroom and learning outcome. We know there should be defined areas with enough space for the children to move around without getting in each other's way. How you arrange your classroom is as equally as important as your daily interactions with the children. Remember, when setting up your classroom, to reflect on the cultural diversity in the classroom with authentic materials and try to make your classroom as diverse as the children and families in the program. Plan a learning environment that includes a variety of areas and materials. In the art area, think of how special a child will feel to see crayons, markers, and papers in different skin tones. There are many shades of browns, tans, and beiges, and having them available for children will make them feel as if they are no different than anyone else. This can also be said for the different types of materials added that could represent other things such as hair or clothing, allowing for endless possibilities of creations. In the block area, again, think of the cultural diversity in the classroom. What one person might be familiar with as a home might not be everyone's experience. Have materials to replicate apartment buildings, houses, huts, igloos, etc. The same for animals or forms of transportation. Don't forget to include photos of different types of structures for the children to recreate using different types of building materials. Some things to remember when choosing books for your multicultural classroom are: is the culture portrayed multidimensional? Are the cultural details naturally integrated into the story? Are the cultural details accurate? Is the language used authentically? Do the author and illustrator present an insider perspective? Is the multicultural collection used in the classroom balanced? I don't know if you are aware, but there is a resource library of books in many languages that you can borrow from your lead teacher. It is set up like a library system where you sign them out and return them. See your lead teacher for more details. The house area has the ability to be the most diverse area in the classroom. There are endless possibilities of what you can add to this area to represent the homes of children in your class. Don't forget, one of the easiest ways to provide authentic pictures of diversity is to post pictures of the children's family in the house area. Include dolls that reflect multicultural, intergenerational, and differently abled themes. In the music area, incorporate musical instruments and tape recordings of songs or stories from family members. The materials that you add to your classroom should be inviting to children. The materials should reflect the children's lives. Ask parents to help donate family photos, postcards from different countries, calendars, money, and menus. Many families will be more than happy to share culture and traditions. They may even feel a sense of pride when you ask them to share, so don't be afraid or reluctant to reach out to your families. When planning for your classroom environment, consider the children in the program. Again, ask families for things to donate that represent their families, whether it be from work, their culture, or daily lives. When families help contribute to the classroom, you are sure to have items that reflect the children's home life as well as active parent participation. For the next part of this webinar, you will discover the ways to enhance your labeling to support English language learners. It is not much different than what you are already doing in your classroom. Use lots of pictures and real objects. Make sure the items and shelves are labeled for easy use and return. And remember not to pile items on top of each other, because this can cause chaos and confusion for any child. Arranging and labeling the learning environment so that children have easy access to materials helps establish the find, use, return cycle. When you are labeling in different languages, each language should be represented in a different color and be consistent with the color through the classroom. For instance, in a bilingual classroom, English words might be in black and Spanish words in red. If you have many languages in your classroom, keep the multi-language labeling to area signs and parts of the day. Otherwise, having too many labels on all materials can be a bit overwhelming. Color code your books by languages also. This can be done by placing color-coded circles on the books of different languages. Refer to your lead teacher for the color code chart that was created for the languages so that they may be uniformed throughout the district. Here are some examples of labeling. You have an actual object, a drawing, a photo, and written words. Adjusting to a new environment is a hard enough task, so to make a child feel welcome, it is important to learn how to pronounce their name correctly. So if you are not sure how to say it, ask the parent as they enter the classroom. When you take a moment to learn the correct pronunciation, it will send a message to the child and his or her family that you respect the child and the culture. You can even try to learn how to greet the child in their native language, with the help of parents, of course. Going over the daily schedule is important for the children. It provides a comforting predictability. Remember to include changes in the routine through the message board. Remember to add picture prompts for some of the main words for our learners who might not understand what you are saying. Through the daily experiences of reading the message board, children begin to understand how these symbols, pictures, and words convey meaning. Remember, it is okay to add additional messages with your children in order to model the writing process. Meal times are the perfect setting for casual conversations. It shouldn't be a question and answer session, such as, what are you eating? Do you like your carrots? Who likes to be quizzed while they are eating? Think about your meal times at home. What are some of the usual topics that come up? It should be the same type of conversation while eating with your students. Conversation times are more important to a child's language development than learning to sit still and wait their turn. Here are a few ideas that can solicit language during a mealtime without turning it into a question and answer session. Make some placemats with useful mealtime words in English and other languages to encourage everyone to practice the new vocabulary. Use a whiteboard to write the menu in English and other languages in the class. Then point and talk about the foods using words from all of the children's languages. Make mealtime special language times. See how much all of us can talk in Hala's language today, which might be Arabic. We all know the benefits of planning and recall has, but during these times it may be helpful for the English language learner to sit with a planning group and hear other children planning before it is their turn to plan. This can be a bit tricky because you don't want the child to feel punished if you always make them last. So be creative in how you do this, or simply ask the child if they are ready to plan. Planning with props and visibility games will be most effective for children who may not be able to describe their plans with words. Planning boards and classroom maps are concrete props to use for children who do not yet have the words to describe their plans. Avoid questions like, where are you going to work today? and use questions such as, "Show me what you will do today." At recall, continue to use concrete strategies. As we know, recalling helps children expand their thinking about past times and develop the vocabulary to talk about materials and their actions. Some strategies for planning and recall time are to use pictures and simple drawings to represent the classroom areas and/or area signs. Use classroom maps to help children identify the different areas, and allow pointing or gesturing. Remember, children who are unsure of their language abilities may find it difficult to initiate play or enter social situations and may need adult time support at this time. It is the perfect time to engage in play with the children and elicit language from them. Also, they will benefit from hearing you talking with the other children too. Just remember to encourage and not praise the child. Work time has many opportunities for children to interact with others to gain cultural awareness and to see, hear, and practice language. Here are some strategies that you can incorporate into your work time routine. Offer books in different languages that can relate to common play themes. Offer menus, maps, newspapers, and brochures in the languages of the children in your classroom. Add photos to each area. Learn key words in the languages of your students. And use labels to encourage vocabulary development in all areas. Remember to provide materials that represent and reflect the cultures and languages of the current children, families, and community in your classroom. Some work time strategies. Show children how much you value their writing by taking notes and dictation. Learn some basic sign language. Add dolls of various skin colors. Add food boxes that are familiar to the children. Be obvious in pointing out print in your classroom. And create simple maps of the classroom or neighborhood with locations labeled in all the needed languages. Work time provides an opportunity to scaffold language experiences through the interactions with children. For example, "I see you chose the blue paint today." This comment can elicit language from the child instead of a yes or no answer. When asking questions, remember the child may need some time to process the question, not because of a learning problem, but because he is processing it in another language. This is not an easy skill, so please be patient and wait for a response. Small group time allows second language learners to hear language that is directly related to the activity. They are more likely to absorb the meaning and phrases in the context of authentic activity than they are from a direct instruction that may have abstract ideas. Think about how difficult it can be in joining a group, and now think about it if you don't speak the language. It is good practice to create groups having children of varying levels of literacy and verbal language skills so that every child benefits from the group makeup. All children will benefit from hearing others speak. Some strategies for small group time. Move to the children's physical level. Watch what the children do with the materials and repeat what the children do with the materials. Listen to what the children say and imitate their actions. Converse with the children following their leads, and refer to the children to each other for ideas and assistance. Large group time gives children the opportunity to express themselves even if they don't speak the language of the classroom. As you can see, large group time for English language learners is the same as you are probably already familiar with, but can incorporate traditional chants and rhymes of different cultures, as well as providing great practice for phonemic awareness. Giving children many opportunities to return to their favorite song reinforces their learning. Second language learners will find their voice or go public for the first time in their new language as they are singing songs. Think of a catchy tune with lyrics and how often we will replay it in our heads. Then we naturally just start singing them out loud. It is the same process. This concludes our webinar. I hope you have enjoyed it. This is a quote I found that made me realize that in a matter of hours, a child's whole life as he knew it was changed forever. And now everything that he knew or was familiar with is gone, and everything he experiences now will be a brand new experience. It is like being reborn at 8 years old. Please remember to answer the assessment questions at the end of this webinar.